Hey, welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. We're still out here in the desert traveling, and I want to talk a little bit more about the edges, or maybe social fracturing. I'm not sure. There's a lot to talk about right now with just what's going on, and part of that, of course, is that I'm in a space, a living live stream space, where things look a little different from some other people. You know, there's a lot of people who have a very... Back in the 50s, I think he wrote it in the 60s, there was a novel by Robert Heinlein called Glory Road, and there was a part in the novel where the protagonist talked about his generation's watchword, and the watchword was safety. You know, people talked about rebellion in this, but what everyone really wanted was safety. A job with a pension, no drama, well-defined living spaces. You do these things on the freeway, and these things at work, and these things at home. And you know, people talk about the Ozzie and Harriet generation, and it kind of meshes with that. But the watchword was safety, is what he always says, and that's. Of course, the protagonist of the novel doesn't fit in with that. Oscar is not into that. He doesn't feel fulfilled by that, and that's why the novel happens, right? I feel like people are being engineered into that space. So we have these different life streams, and there are a lot of people who are engineered into a life stream of safety and order and very narrow behavioral and experiential patterns. And you have that even with things like outdoor activity. Like I watch people play disc golf, and they have it's not a very free form game anymore. It's very structured. The stances and the behaviors and how you throw, and so people look at me when I go play disc golf like I'm a little funny. You know, I'll run around with 2 discs, and I'll use traditional frisbee player stances and throwing, which is fine. I mean, you know, if you can't throw a disc 40 yards and get it within reach of the person you're throwing to, then you're not doing very good at playing frisbee. I mean, if you're a beginner, yeah, I get it, but there's a point where if you play frisbee like it's a religion, you should be able to throw 40 yards, 60 yards, depends on the disc and the wind, and get it to your partner, right? I just don't see why you wouldn't be able to do that. But people get really weird about throwing discs, and there's a lot of very odd behaviors, very constrained and artificial, and I feel like there's a lot of that going on with life. There's a very constrained, artificial set of behavior patterns that people are engaging in, and they're being programmed into those things, not on a positive level of safety. See, that's one of the big differences. When you talk about the 50s, people were the safety was the watchword, but it was positive. It was about building your career, your pension, your 20 years in a gold watch. You know, they used to actually be gold watches. And now it's out of fear. So it's not positive. You're not building your life for the future. You're literally living in fear. And there's this huge stream about that. Now, one of the things I have to consider quite often is Hansen. There's a guy, Victor Davis Hansen. He talks about the cowboy. You know, it's a metaphor he uses for a lot of history. The cowboy who comes in, the gunslinger who comes in, cleans up the town, then you want him to leave because you don't really want him living in your town. His lifestyle is not amenable to civilization. We have that. You know, we have a lot of that stream that I'm watching right now, where the streams are diverging. And you desperately need the majority of people who want to do regular life, civilized things. Not everyone should live on the edge. You need to have spaces for the edges. And some of the Scandinavian cultures were really good at having times of life for that. Going on a wandering, going on a woods walk for 3 months. Getting off into the edges as a life phase, which is really good. Some people it's more than a phase, it's just you're a shaman, and that's what you are. The shamanic living on the edge, it is holy, and it's good for society to acknowledge that. It doesn't mean that you want to be around these stinky bearded people who fish for food in random creeks and crap, but it's holy. There's a vibrancy, there's a necessity to your culture to have these things. It's a built-in escape valve in a lot of ways. And I'm watching the live stream. The problem I'm seeing isn't that people are doing normal life as such. The problem I'm seeing is that people are fearing into this normalcy. They're not living, they're not growing into this normalcy. It's all fear-based. And I think that is a significant... I think that's going to come back and bite a lot of people. And that there's going to have to be some social growth past that at some point in time. But I'm sitting over here in a different live stream, and I'm seeing things very differently. So when I look at what people call the normies, I don't look at it as... I don't see them being progressive. And I don't mean that in the political sense. I mean progressive in an internal sense. They're not progressing their life. They're not developing their life. They're not advantaging their life. It's all very negative and downhill and restrictive and inward turning and agoraphobic. I yell this out loud in public all the time, I walk into businesses and I'm like, you have institutionalized agoraphobia. That's what we're doing. We're institutionalizing agoraphobia, making it into a broad cultural program. And it's horrible and it's awful and it's evil. That's flat out evil. That is an absolute moral evil. Okay? I want you to understand where I stand on that. But we're doing, we have an agoraphobic basis right now. And a lot of this isn't being caused by the pandemic reaction, but the pandemic reaction is being flavored by this tendency and then making it worse. It's like a catalyst. It's like an amplifier. Amplifier is a really good concept. We're amplifying this agoraphobic tendency, this negative tendency. People... The idea of working, saving, buying a house is so foreign that we have an entire set of generations, because you've got millennials and Z doing this, saying that they can't afford it because if you show them, you say, hey, look, here's a $140,000 house. It's only 20 miles further away. It's the wrong house. They can't do it because then they'd have to commute to work. It's the same direction, so their commute would be 15 miles instead of 5 miles, but they can't. There's a can't, won't, can't for everything. And it's very negative, and it's because they literally don't want the effort for positive growth. They don't want to engage in the effort for positive growth. That's part of it anyway, So I'm out here in a completely different live stream, and I'm watching this. I'm very much watching this from the outside, and everything's gonna be okay. All right, that's one of the things you have to get is when I talk about this stuff, I can get very intense and very weird and judgmental, but everything's going to be okay. It may take 5-10 lifetimes. It may be a really weird space for the game, and the anti-human side is there. They're very much there playing the game too. But I have no confidence that they can win long term. There's things. I would much rather have the game get more positive and interesting over time for the next several generations. But even if we get stuck in 10,000 years of crap, we always can come out of it. You know, there's nothing there that's permanent, all right? So be happy, stay cool. But as we think about this, the other side of this is that while so many people will really be happy, they will have happiness inside of their stress, the stress programs, we're developing this big, huge division in the life streams that is such that I think you're going to have more people going free. And that part's incredible. You know, more people are breaking away, and I really think that's cool. I had an argument with someone. He wasn't doing me any good, so I just blocked him this morning. Wasn't doing my mental state any good. He's just useless for me right now. Right? As a person, I'm sure as a human, he's valuable, but he's running a program. Okay, everything. And it's funny because he's one of the gun rights supporters, but everything is Trump's fault. Everything bad is Trump's fault. Everything the ATF is doing is Trump's fault. Everything the FBI is doing is Trump's fault. Trump. He's running the program, you see? He's got the program. And you have these people running the program. And you have to, like you can't really communicate with them while they're running the program. You have to wait for the moments of lucidity when they're not actually possessed by a mimetic demon to talk to them. So you have this as the life streams divide. One of the big things that keeps the people who are in rebellion against the inhumanity, one of the things that keeps them down, keeps them from succeeding, keeps them from breaking away, is this program. There's two programs. One is the fear and anger program, whichever method it takes. Right now it's Trump and white supremacy and whatever. And then there's the safety, you know, the idea that it's too hard to give it up. You know, I've watched people say, oh, I want to move from California, but I can't because of safety. I have to change my job. So watch those programs, right? Watch out for the safety program. Watch out for the fear and anger program. And, you know, if you're so inclined, take the jump. Because this live stream, this side over here, it's pretty fantastic. Stay sideways.